and no writing or things that would enable them to create books. But about 3,000 years ago, they started writing this down, and then it went on from there. What was amazing to me when I learned this is that it took 3,000 years of word of mouth. That's a lot of information, because once you really see these Vedas, Ayurveda has given us detailed information about the body. They've given us surgery information with equipment that does the surgery that didn't even exist at the time. It's really a fascinating piece of information that has just amazes me. People used Ayurveda in India for up until when the British took over India, and then they changed and they brought in the old, they took away the old medicine and brought in their own, because, I mean, of course, there's money in it, right? So Ayurveda, after the leaving of the British, has come back more and more in the Indian culture. A lot of people just use this for medicinal advice and taking care of themselves and their body. And what I'm hoping that we are able to do here is that we learn how the body really works and learn the processes and the mechanics of how we can take care of it to obtain perfect health and maintain it. So let's get right to it. How is it made? How is the body made? Everything in nature is made of 5 elements. These 5 elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. They're in everything. Everything in nature has these 5 elements. We're no different than anything else in nature, and so we also have these 5 elements in us. These elements each have their own qualities, right? I mean, that's simple enough to understand, right? Because these elements, the qualities are either hot or cold, heavy or light, gross or subtle, moist or dry, sharp or dull, flowing or dense, hard or soft, smooth or rough, static or mobile, and then cloudy or clear. Everything in nature are made of these elements, as I just said, and then because these elements have their own qualities, then everything has its own qualities, and that includes us. And later on in this class, we're going to learn about doshas and how we are made. That helps us understand. So before I learned Ayurveda, and I would get, say, for example, bloated on a physical sense, or I get sad or depressed about something, I would go crazy trying to figure out what's wrong. Why did I just eat? Or why am I all of a sudden sad or depressed? I play sports, and sometimes I used to, long time ago, thank God, I used to find myself feeling depressed in the middle of a tennis game, right? So, I mean, you wake up 6 o'clock in the morning and you go play tennis with a bunch of friends, and you're supposed to have fun and enjoy yourself. And yet there's something inside that makes me bubbly, something bubbling on the inside. It used to drive me nuts. And so always try to figure out, what is it that causes this? Where does this come from? I'm supposed to be enjoying myself right now. So that kind of deprived me of the enjoying of the life that I was experiencing at that moment. And this is the thing that we will talk about a lot here, is understanding, is it that this stuff happens? Why is it happening like that, right? The reason that we all look alike, kind of like we're all human beings, but at the same time, we don't look alike, right? Just look at the 3 of us or the 4 of us with Kent, right? We each have our own features. we act different, you know, two twin brothers or sisters, totally different sometimes. Although they're in physicality, they're exactly the same bodies, they're not the same. Something of these qualities is changing, right? So because of the fact that my body and your body is made of these 5 elements, depending on what these elements are in me, I'm going to be different, not just physically, right? But also emotionally, mentally, that I would even feel like spiritually, right? But what is that is because if there is, for example, more water in me than another element, then I have more of those qualities of water, right? So water is what? I mean, think about it. Water is moist, right? It's kind of heavy, right? You have to put a big jar of water. It's very heavy to move, right? Water flows, right? It's not steady. Even when it's in a lake, what we don't see is underneath the lake, it's still moving. And all the qualities that water has, right? Without getting into all of them. So if I have more water in me than my twin brother, then if he has more fire in him, then we're going to be totally opposite personality, right? He's going to be more light, and he wants to burn, and he wants to move, right? And it's like, so understanding these doshas, which is how these elements, how much of these elements are in our bodies. So then now I understand, for example, that, oh, I feel bloated. I'll go, oh, yeah, you know what? I must have ate something that has more air, because bloatedness is what? Air, right? So if it has more air in it, then I have the air quality. So it must have been something I ate that when it got into my body, it generated more air than somebody else that would have the same thing, and it would generate more earth, for example. So it becomes heavier, more gross, more cold, right? So all those features. Excuse me. So the reason we all are so different is because of the variation of these mixture of these elements in our bodies. And that determines what we call our dosha. Okay. Our doshas is, as Ayurveda puts it, is our prakriti. Prakriti is your nature. It's how we're made, right? When you know how you're made, you know what to do if something is wrong. I mean, in simple terms, right? If you know that this watch that's not working, it's made with a battery, and so it stopped working. So what's wrong with it? Battery, right? So you just change the battery, and voila, it starts working again. Same exact thing with the body. You don't need to change the battery, but everything else you can actually learn to do. So knowing one's dosha enables us to live according to our own nature. If you want to move and kind of like, yeah, sit comfortable. Just the two of you guys. We could move back. Right? So this is part of what we're gonna do today, is learn, if you don't already know, what our doshas are. And I sent you a form for a dosha. I hope that you've received it. I sent it to you in email format.
Yeah, I did receive it.
Okay, sweet. So our constitution, our prakriti, is made when we are conceived, not even when we're born. When we're conceived, when we're born, it's already the done deal. And that's not saying that you're imprisoned by this prakriti, by this nature of life. All that means is this is how you're made. So if you know how you're made, you know what to do with it, right? So since you now know what to do with it, that means that you know that your body, for example, needs more sleep than somebody else. You know that your body needs more water than somebody else. It's always like, then you know your body, you know what to do with it, you know how to deal with it. This Prakriti is really your nature. So, you say that, oh, that's just your nature. It's always like that, right? Now, at the time of conception, a lot goes into it because we're not just physical. We also have all these energies that make us. These energies have a lot to do with a lot of other things too. It's the way the parents felt at that time. What was their state of mind? What was their state of health? Where was the sun? Where was the moon? Where were the other stars? What state was Earth in? What kind of month was it? What kind of day? What time of day? It all makes a difference. These are the ingredients. Or how you've heard that some people say that we are just children of stardust. It's true, right? I mean, we're children of a bunch of things, but we don't know it because why? Is because we're in head and we're just moving what's going on in our head, and we're trying to figure everything out. And that's not having all the tools. You don't just need to think about something. Sometimes, right? You ask for something. If you're open and you're clean and you know that all I got to do is ask and you believe, you close your eyes and you ask for something. Next thing you know, it happens. It may not happen in 15 minutes, but then 2 days later, you go, wow, I can't believe that I asked for this right here, this right in front of me. Or the other way around, it also works the other way. You're afraid of something and you don't want it to happen. You think about it so much, it happens. Why? Is because that energy leaves. Your thoughts are creating it, right? So when these doshas are in balance, when my dosha is in balance, we're happy, healthy, loving, creative, joyful, intelligent, peaceful, and everything is going well. Why? Is because everything is working. This body, this whole thing is working. It's working properly. And when they're not otherwise, trouble starts. Imbalances show up as disease. They show up in the body, they show up in the mind, and they show up in the spirit. So understanding the roots of the imbalance, if I know what kind of imbalance I'm having, because I know there's something wrong with me, right? So when I know what my dosha is, then I also know that this is an imbalance. And if I know the imbalance, and I know the root of this imbalance, where did this come from? Is this physical? Is it mental? Is it because I said something to my sister the other day? Is it because of something I ate? Or is it because somebody told me something that's still just going around in my head? It doesn't matter where the root is, but I can see the root, then I can guide the body back. So if I know, for example, I have too much water in me, right? Then I will drink less water. So I'll balance out what's been out of me. When it goes out of balance, the body is always in and out of balance. It comes in and out of balance, always, every day, every hour. But it adjusts itself back to balance. When you do too much of something, then the body doesn't get to adjust itself to that balance again. That's when it starts flowing out and starts showing up as disease, depending on whether we have a weakness in the body. It shows up in that particular area. I've kind of like picked this picture because there's 3 different body styles and facial face says that you see in here that actually explains the 3 doshas. So what are these doshas? There's really 6 doshas. The combination of these 5 elements, either air, if there is an air and ether, the main doshas are vata, pitta, and kapha. Vata is air and ether, pitta is fire and water, and kapha is earth and water. So part of the reason that you will have no control over this after you were conceived is because maybe your dad was pitta and your mom was kapha. So guess what? You have fire, water, earth, and more water in there. So guess what? You have a lot of water in you, right? So comparing to somebody else, you should be taking less water because your body is pitta kapha. Now we'll learn about this in a few minutes. I have dosha quizzes for all you guys. And we're going to take these dosha quizzes so that by the end of today, you will have a very good idea of what your body's dosha is and what's your constitution, what's your prakriti, right? So vata is air and ether, pitta is fire and water, and kapha is earth and water. But there's also combination of these things. So you can be vata pitta, vata kapha, or tridoshi, vata pitta kapha. You have a little bit of everything you need. Those are the luckiest people. When you're tridoshic, everything is easy to fix. But say, for example, if there is vata and kapha, right? Both of them are very cold, right? But the good news is that vata, because it has air, it's light, and kapha has earth, which is heavy. So these two kind of like help each other out. They cancel each other out, right? But because they're both cold, then you would probably get cold more than somebody else. You know, you go, oh, my hands are pitta all cold, right? But somebody who has a lot of pitta, who's a lot of fire in them, they're always the opposite. They're like, oh, I can run without a shirt in the middle of winter and nothing would bother me, right? All of these elements are also in the body piece by piece. So your liver can be vata, for example, and your heart can be pitta. In some cases, in a lot of cases, it isn't. In a lot of cases, your whole body is really one dosha. But I tell you from personal experience that my body isn't, right? For example, I would get, for example, oily in my face area and dry everywhere else. It's not very good, right? So it is the fact of prakriti, how I am made, right? So what's your dosha? What we're going to do is we're going to stop the recording for a moment, and Ken, please take your dosha quiz. The numbers, the total number of vata, pitta, and kapha in the in the doshas is just to get a percentage answer. But when you look at the percentages, it just goes like in Kent's example, for example, it would be like 70, almost 80% pitta. So when you look at it that way, it just kind of gives you an idea a little bit. But when you're that close, when you're vata and when two of your doshas are that close, then you're not really dominant. You are pretty much more towards pitta than your vata or kapha, but you still have a strong presence of kapha in you, right? Which kind of, if you think about it, you're kind of lucky in a way, because when you look at the doshas, when you go back here, when you look at the doshas, okay, go back, please. The batteries are low, all right. Sorry, batteries are always running out at the bad time. Right? Well, so when you look at these percentages, basically all you're doing is understanding where your qualities are. Really nothing to say that it's a good or bad about any of it. There's really not a matter of judgment. It's just a matter of information, knowledge, right? And this knowledge in this particular case is giving us the opportunity to know what to do with this body, where to go, right? And so we learn a lot more about it as we go forward. Sorry. Okay. As we go forward, we learn more about the body. But can't you see my screen, right?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. So let me see, why can't I go back this way? Yeah. So when you look at it, you just go, okay, so I'm more pitta, so there's more fire and water in me, right? Or when you look at you, in your case, your pitta kapha, fire, water, earth, and water, right? The good news is now as we get forward, then you'll understand also what goes on in the body, right? So let's just put this on pause first. Everything in nature also has a personality. The personalities in nature are sattva, rajas, or tamas. So now we'll explain this more in detail, and I'm going to give you, in one of these classes, I'm going to give you another questionnaire that determines your sattva, rajas, tamas personality traits. And this all also, when you say personality, for example, if I were to tell you what is the personality of water, you would immediately ask me, well, it depends. In a lake, right? In a pit, or in an ocean, right? Ocean roaring, moving, right? Lake, calm, serene, right? In a pit, muddy, cloudy, right? So you can see that when you learn about the different qualities of nature, you also now understand that these qualities also contribute to the personality of how things act, right? And that's also extremely important in understanding your body. Sattva is pure, it's calm. And I just only wrote a few. There's just so much more that you could say about it. It's about harmony, balance, positivity, um, helpfulness, intelligence, stillness, right? The best example of a sattvic look in nature is really a clear lake, calm and relaxed, and you could see through it. It's like a mirror. It shows in body, it shows in our personalities, in our psyche. It shows as knowledge, as wisdom, clarity, inspiration, enthusiasm, and tranquility, right? Sattvic life is what you should be after. All of these monks and all of these people that go after living one with nature, for example, right? They're living sattvic. And you would see that when you talk about rajas, it's all about activity, passion, dynamism, energy, and I wrote passion twice, agitation, desire, egoism, right? So when you say there is no judgment, and we want to make sure that you're clear on this, that there's no good or bad here. We're not saying that sattva is good and rajas is bad or the other way around. These are just things that are. We need all three of them to survive, all of us, right? We need rajas because we need movement. We need, like, you go play. I was talking about playing tennis. You need rajas a little bit. You need motion, action, right? But I don't need to be mean to my partners. I don't mean to try to hurt them by hitting the ball at them, right? That's the extent of rajas. I need to be more sattvic, right? Being in calm and harmony, playing well, enjoying myself, having fun. But at the same time, I need to be aggressive as far as making the points, right? So they're all needed in our life. Rajas is activity, passion, dynamism, energy, agitation, desire, and egoism, and it shows up as movement. It shows up as change, stimulation, criticism, aggression. When rajas is too much rajas in somebody, is where you will somebody that's totally hurtful or mean or aggressive, unnecessarily overly aggressive. Tamas, on the other hand, is inertia. It's laziness. It's chilling, basically. sitting back, not doing anything, ignorance, darkness, dullness, depression, negativity. It shows up in the body as a stagnation, lethargy, delusion, violence, and also confusion, and a lot more. But I thought that this would be the ones to look at most importantly, right? So Ayurveda psychology works that what Ayurveda's point of view is that understanding the bodies and the dosha, anything that's out of balance is what causes disease or lack of health rather, right? So when we say disease, depression is a disease, right? It's because, and I wrote it down later, is disease is what? Is dis-ease. When you're not at ease, when your body is not at ease, you're sick, you have a disease, right? When this imbalance shows up in the mind, then vata imbalance can result in anxiety and worry. Why? When you think about it, vata was what? Was air. It's, your mind is everywhere. There's no balance. You're just dreaming, you're thinking about stuff. And so as a result, you go in your head and you loop and loop and loop, and you become anxious. What is anxiety? Is your brain looking for an answer and not being able to find it. And it keeps going and going and going, and it drives you crazy because it's looking for an answer. Pitta imbalance can result in rage and anger. If pitta gets in the head of somebody, that person is just a raging person. It's just like, see all these mad drivers on the road that are cutting everybody off. They're acting with rajas. Pitta imbalance. Kapha imbalance can result in depression and lethargy. The body is an intelligent machine, you guys. You should know this. You already know this. It produces an output based on what you put in it, right? What's wrong with my body? Nothing is wrong with my body. The stuff that I put in it may not have been the right stuff. All I got to do is stop and put the right stuff in my body, right? And so this is important. From here on is where I want you to pay attention to. This is how you take care of yourself. You understand that what your body, you put food, water, air, and you put this stuff in your body and it runs. That's what it needs. Just like a car needs gas, we need food, we need water, and we need air. The five senses, on the other hand, they're providing information from the outside world. That's what the five senses are for, is to give the body guidance of what's going on outside of us. However, we abuse it and we let everything come in, right? So when you sit there and you watch this murderous movie at 10:30 at night before you go to bed, guess what you're doing to your body? You're putting in wrong information. Your body doesn't know that you're watching the movie. It thinks that that's what's happening. So you just witnessed the murder and now you're going to bed. And then you wake up in the middle of the night with all these crazy dreams about, well, I wonder what the heck was going on. Why am I dreaming this thing? Because you inputted that stuff into the body. Don't input it, you won't get the output. It's just very simple. It's not that difficult to manage. We experience life through this information and how it is processed within the body, which includes the mind. And remember that thoughts generate emotions. Emotions generate thoughts. Once you get in that loop, it goes forever until you stop it. The only way you can stop it is by knowing about it first, right? Make sense so far? So generally what goes in dictates what comes out. It's just like a machine, any other machine, right? It helps us to understand that energy, everything is energy. Make sure that you understand this. Everything is energy. Does that make sense to you? Now, I don't want you to understand this as a metaphoric way of looking at this. I want you to understand this scientifically. Everything is energy is why is because everything is made of atoms and electrons and protons. Everything, right? Everything is atoms. What is atom? Atom is tiny little nucleus that weighs almost nothing, with an electron running around it that almost is nothing. It space takes hardly any space, has no weight. It's just a particle that's moving. And what is life? Is that movement, that energy that this atom is running around. The atom is running around the nucleus, right? Or the electron that's running around the nucleus of the atom. That's the energy that everything is. Putting a ton of them together, now you have a body, right? Okay, so food for thought. And I don't want to go past this step, but I just want you to think about this. If an atom is a nothing running around a nothing almost, right? At a very high speed, right? It's 99.9999% space. 0.0000000000001% mass. The rest is space, right? How is it that we see this as a physical body that you cannot punch through? What's holding it together? If it's all space, what's holding it together? What is it? Why do I not see the space and I see a shape? If the shape is all space, what am I looking at there? Just food for thought, right? So think about this, and then maybe we'll talk about it later next week.
Is that just everything physical, or like even everything that's not physical?
Everything. Yeah, physical is only what we see, right? So if I were to tell you that, for example, there's an emotional body, right? Right outside of our physical body, the next level is emotional body. Do you see it? No, but it exists. And it's energy, right? So we'll pick this up next time. I want you to really think about it because it's an amazing concept. Because if you take the weight of every atom in our body, and you put it all together, all of that mass together, right? It won't even be a hundredth of an ounce. It's nothing. It would probably fit in the tip of a needle. It's nothing. It's all energy. It's no mass. There's zero mass. Right? So think about this. Thoughts are energies which can manifest in physical reality. I want you to know these things as a new belief system, if you don't already have it, is because when you think of something, it happens. You better believe that it does. Especially if you think about it, you don't want it to happen, stop thinking about it. Let it go. It is, isn't it? But that's the world we live in. Constantly going, right? Yeah, of course. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, in a way, you're supposed to, but if you understand how this whole universe is made, what are these kids? They're not just your kids, right? They're also people. And they're here to experience life for themselves. You're just here to guide them. They're not yours. I have news for you. They came through you. Absolutely. the fact that you're aware of it is going to help you a lot. I also want you to remember this. This ease is only this ease. There's nothing else. There is no disease. That's just a word, right? It is this ease. Your body is not as eased. It's an absence of ease. So now let's talk about digestion and let's talk about toxins, okay? Agni is the fire in our belly that digests the food. That Agni is also digests everything else. It's Agni in our eyes that takes the information, which is the photons of light, hitting the screen of the retina, taking that information and putting it back in our nervous system, and the nervous system takes it to the brain, and the brain goes, ah, that's a flower, right? That digestion of that view into the that's flower, is done through Agni. Agni does that. Agni, the touch, the feel that you get by touching stuff is done through Agni, right? The smell, all the senses have their own Agni. So Agni is anything that goes absorbed into the body, uses the element of fire to digest, and that's why I have the fire on there. To digest it into the system, in the belly, this fire is called Agni. The absence of good Agni leaves the food unprocessed and raw. When you're cooking, if you leave the heat low, and before the food is cooked, you pick it up, what happens? You have raw, you don't have food, right? Same thing in our body. We kill the Agni ourselves through doing certain practices, right? Say, for example, you drink water while you're eating, or Coke, or whatever, a cold drink, while you're eating lunch, right? So what are you doing is you're putting water on this fire that's supposed to digest your food, and why you're doing it is because you're going, I'm thirsty. But then we'll show you ways throughout this class that if you don't drink, for example, for a minute, or you drink some warm water instead, a little bit of warm water, you notice that your thirst will go away. It's really all just in your head. You're not thirsty. What is thirst? It's a signal that goes from your belly or wherever else, right? And it goes into your head and it goes, oh, I'm thirsty. So if you look at it as a signal, not just thirst, then you just look at it and then go, oh, I'm not thirsty anymore. Because you've noticed it as an electrical signal and not a real thing. I'm starving. No, you're not. You're not going to die. Starving is when you have an equal for 7 days. That's starving. Right? So it's all just communication of your body to the brain, and then the messages that the brain has already recorded and gives you that result back, and you go, oh, I'm thirsty, or oh, I'm hungry, or oh, I'm mad, right? Stuff that's just communication, electrical signals going back and forth. Some causes of depleted Agni, like how do you kill your Agni? Frozen food, eating under stress, negative emotions while you're eating, or while watching the screens, you're eating and you're watching this killing movie. Under stress, you're working and you're eating lunch, doing a project because it's due. You got to get it done in the next 2 hours and you don't have time to eat, so you just swallow the food. You're not eating. You're better off not eating. Don't eat. That food's going to hurt your body. It's not going to help you. You're not nourishing anything. Food should be only done to nourish the body. That's the purpose of eating. It's not to go out with a bunch of friends, although we do it as a social event and enjoy ourselves, right? But that's not the main purpose. The main purpose is to nourish the body. It's just like going to a gas station, put gas in your car. You can get 500 people to come at the same time and have a party, putting gas in your cars. That's still though, just putting gas in your car is all you're doing. So don't overthink it, right? Drinking cold liquids with your food. Untimely eating, waking up at 11 or 30 at night and having a sandwich or ice cream. Eating on a run. Fast food, processed food, cold food, microwaved food. Just to name a few things that would kill your acne in the body, right? When you don't have proper acne, you're gonna be unhealthy sooner or later. Why? Is because this food that's in there, you've heard of what this recently, whenever you go to a doctor with any kind of digestive issue, they go, oh, you have a leaky gut syndrome problem. Have you heard of this, the leaky gut? That's what that is. There is not enough acne going on. So what you do is you take in all this sugar and it opens up the little pores in your intestines, and the food that's raw gets into your body, showing up as pimples, showing up as asthma, showing up as heart attack, different things. Why? Is because it creates ama. What is ama? Is undigested food. The ama is basically Ayurveda's way of saying toxins, poison in the body, right? Simple things, you guys. It's like understanding this knowledge is what's so important. You take honey and bake it, it becomes poison. It's no longer food. You put honey in hot boiling water and drink it, it becomes poison. You don't want it, you want to use the value of honey, don't put it in heated water. It could be just either cold water or maybe a little bit warm so it could digest it, but not hot. So don't cook honey. Water, if it's not drank properly, could be poison in your body. Water, of all things that you would think is your source of life, right? So undigested food turns into a gross-looking, slimy, gooey, sticky stuff that is the origin of all diseases. If you don't get rid of it, it lingers, it gets into your blood, it goes to the weakest part of the body, and it sticks there and it blocks the flow of energy to that location, and as a result, causing disease. You can see this on a tongue. When you wake up in the morning, you look at your tongue. Or even right now, if you go in front of a mirror and you look at your tongue, you would know that the ama that's already in the digestive system, it comes up in the pipeline and it gets onto your tongue and it gets deposited. And that's why you get bad breath, for example. It's one of the reasons, right? It starts damaging your teeth. What do is you scrape your tongue every day. In the morning, the first thing you do, and you look at your tongue yourself, you don't need an Ayurvedic doctor. You can tell if you're eating properly. Or even if you get mad at somebody, you get really angry. I want you to feel this next time. You get really angry or agitated or really nervous about something, you will notice this bad taste in your mouth. Where did that come from? It's ama. It's coming out right around the throat. So you got to scrape, and that's why I did. That's a real picture of one of my clients, by the way. That's a tongue. Right? Now, look at yours in the morning. If you don't have a tongue scraper, get one before the end of today. Everybody, your kids, look at their tongues. Teach them how to scrape. Don't brush it. Scrape the tongue. You get rid of that ama. But then at the same time, you're aware that there's ama in the body. Ama is caused by being sedentary life, having a sedentary lifestyle, unwholesome foods, frozen foods, chemicals, heavy, dry, frozen, and fried foods, just to name a few things that are incompatible foods, right? So, for example, you should not mix milk with fruit. Guess what we do all the time? Oh, I got this really nice smoothie. I'm eating healthy. I have this smoothie that I made. What do you have in there? Oh, you got strawberries and all these berries that are really good for you. And I mix them with milk. Wasn't almond, right? Milk products is what? Yogurt. How many people are on diet eat? Oh, I have this fruit yogurt that I eat in the morning. It really holds me up. You're hurting the body. You're not helping anything, right? So what this class is going to end up doing for you is going to probably mess up your diet. So you're going to start looking at what you're eating, how you're eating, and when you're eating, right? I mean, people eat, they're having a sandwich and listening to this podcast of two people fighting with each other. Why? You know, it's like you're feeding your body all of this bad stuff. So remembering that acne is the biotransformation agent for anything that comes into the body, the way to stay healthy is to maintain a strong acne. One of the reasons that Ayurveda practitioners or doctors check your pulse is to see how strong is your acne. Okay, by just checking the pulse, they can tell how strong is the acne in the body. Okay, and remember, we're not just talking about acne of belly and food, acne in general, right? Processing information, processing thoughts, processing what you see, what you hear, what you say, even, right? All of these get processed into the body. Basic understanding of a diet that is a match to our doshas and living a sattvic lifestyle of harmony with all that is, maintaining a state of gratitude, ensuring a life full of health and intelligent freedom. I said intelligent freedom because it's important to understand freedom doesn't necessarily mean that you do whatever you want. It means that you choose wisely. That's what really freedom is. Okay, remember this at the end here. And I am running behind because we started kind of behind, but always remember this. As within, so without. What goes on inside shows on the outside. Remember that you are what you eat. Happiness is a choice. You know? It's as simple as that. You'd be surprised. You just wake up in the morning and say things to yourself like, I choose to be happy today. And when things come that bother you, you just go, that's an outside thing. On the inside, I'm happy. I'll fix the outside. I just won't look at it. I'll deal with it in a different way. But I would choose to be happy. There is a book that's called Happiness is a Choice, I believe. The mind is like an empty field, guys. Talk about this is actually what you were just talking about, right? It's like an empty field. What happens to an empty field when you leave it alone? You get weeds, right? If you want flowers, you got to plant the seed of these flowers. The things that bring you joy, the things that bring you peace, the things that bring you freedom, and you bring them into your life. And you water them and you care for them, you know, you just like you're taking care of your kids, you take care of these things, right? You do the same thing with what goes on in your head. You do the same thing with your emotions, with what goes on inside your heart. You know, if you're with a friend that you really, every time you see this friend, you've known him for 30 years, but the moment you see this friend, you just get agitated. You get bothered. Don't see him anymore. You don't need to. There is no thing. I mean, you can just find a way and go, I'm sorry, I'm not available. Fix it. Because it's constantly draining on you. So you come to terms with what you need to do. The end of this thing is this. You take care of yourself. If you cannot take care of yourself, nobody else will take care of you. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to know how to love somebody else. Can you look in the mirror? So important. I tell this to just about everyone I meet. Look in the mirror and say, I love you. Because you, as you learn throughout this process of going forward, you're not just this body. You're not just this mind. There is a meditation that I would highly, let's see if we could do a meditation, although we're running over time. But we're going to do a short meditation. And I want you to do this. Ken, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, so we're going to do a meditation really quick. Please close your eyes. Sit comfortably. If you're not comfortable, get in a comfortable position. Take your glasses off. Close your eyes. Let me stop recording. I don't need to record anymore. What happened to the recording? No, we're not recording.